I'm here to talk about season 2 of Sin Gray. Now, has this season 2 been out for a good minute now? Yes, it has. But we're here to talk about legacies. We're here to talk about underdogs, crazy races, and brother, I cannot wait to talk about them. Y'all know how I do this. For the things that I cover, I will do unnecessary research for. And in this case, after each race, if it's interesting enough, I will talk about the race or the horse itself, or maybe both at the same time, you know, kind of giving little facts and stuff like that. Now, if there's nothing, well, they get nothing. That's besides the point. Let's just hop right into it. All right, so boom. The first episode is just a Fujimasa March episode. Now, I mess with her. Like, she cut her hair, and I love short-haired queens. She's in a better mood, even after losing to Ogre Cap in the Tokai Derby. And that's really because she called Ogre last season, and that kind of helped her, you know, mentally knowing that, okay, my rival is really my best friend, and she's there for me even when I need her to be. Because currently, she's minding her business, talking to her friends, and then someone egregiously bumps into her. It's so funny when characters do this, oh my bad, I ran into you accidentally, but in reality, I hate you shtick. Like, instead of just coming up to me and just saying that you hate me and just being like, hey, I don't really like you, you have to like bump into my shoulder viciously and break my collarbone to get my attention. Marge is trying to apologize, but this person has like random beef with her. This is Yamamo 1000. Bear in mind, she's upset with her because she talks about Ogre way too much and she's just being happy. God forbid someone be happy and just live their life out. Now, I understand that there are just some random people that you hate. Trust me, I hate the people that do the sock shoe instead of sock shoe shoe. You know what I mean? Or the Obi-Wan creators, the people that made that god-awful show. She knows March hasn't been the same since she last raced Cap and thinks she's washed now, and all of this is the reason why March lost the Tokai Derby to her. She wants old March back, and unbeknownst to her, she's gonna get exactly what she wants. Surprisingly, in this Farmers League, at this point, March had only won one race in her last 5. She's not even the favorite to win this race, considering what a threat she was last season to Ogre. The race starts, and Yamamoto's in the back waiting to use her final spurt because she's a late closer, and March is in 5th. Yamamoto then finally decides to use her spurt and flies past everybody, closing in on March. She even looks at March and can tell that the old March is coming back, and she likes that. Coming into the final stretch, 5 races are neck and neck, and Yamamoto is next to March, and March had to stand on business real quick. She let it be known that even if Cap is not here, she's still a racer to the end, and she's not chasing no ghosts, but the real thing. Then turns back the clock like LeBron in year 23 and wins the race. Now, Yamamoto obviously can't believe that she is still chasing a goat like Cap, but March is like, of course I am. I'm her rival. I'm just gonna get this off real quick. They call everybody in this show rivals. You could be speed walking next to an Uma and they would think that you're challenging them to a race, and they'd be like, huh? My rival? Are you my rival? Like, no, I'm just trying to get to class. To my surprise, but not really, the real life counterpart to Fujimasa March, there's not much on this horse at all. Like, it just lives off of the fact that it beat Ogre Cap early in its career. Also, this race never happened. The writers just made this up because I was researching if it had actually happened, but this horse never ran this race. And I think it's because at this point in time, March was declining. So the writers were probably sitting there just like, what can we do with this character? Like, if she's declining at this point in time, then how can we make her interesting? How can we, you know, keep her in the story and, you know, stuff like that? So they gave her this race. Now, the real life horse had a decent professional, you know, career, more on the lower levels, you know, the Farmers League type stuff, you know what I mean? The funny thing is that I saw this coming. When you adapt real stories and don't really change much about them, some characters kind of get forgotten because if they have no impact after their first introduction to the story, they don't really do anything. And the main examples of it is her. Don't know how to pronounce her name. I'm gonna try. Yayano. Yeah, you know, I'm sorry if I'm butchering it. I can't. I'm sorry. I'm illiterate. She literally does nothing in the entire story. She loses in 2 races we see her in, and she just sets herself up for everyone else to dunk on her. And to piggyback off that, she's gonna set herself up for someone else later too. After the race, we finally get to see Cap, and Cap is talking about all the races she's good at, and then Dicta comes in listing off all the type of races that Cap is good at. She just really wants to race Cap at this point, so she tries to like big brain it all and guess which race Cap was in, but she was completely wrong. And then Cap responds and says, yeah, I'm racing in the Japan Cup, nonchalantly, mind you. The Japan Cup is one of the most prestigious races in the entire world, so it brings in other horses from other countries, so it's an international event, meaning that this is a a legacy defining race. Going back to Dicta will have a bigger role this season, and I'm a little bit intrigued because last season she was being implied that she was really strong and could even compete with some of the best like Tamio Cross and Ogre Cap. So we didn't really get to see her, be at her best. It was kind of giving me Ksuuvi vibes. So we'll have to wait and see. Dicta then walks past someone and yeah, foreshadowing. Who cares? Like and subscribe. It then cuts to Yaino, and that's just how I'm gonna pronounce it from now on. I don't care. She promises that she's gonna win her next race, and that's just not gonna happen. Before the episode ends, the old guy looks up and sees someone staring down onto the track, and that is just the end of the episode right there. This is Fumino Nayase. She is a prodigy trainer, and she's like the daughter of this famous trainer in the Umaverse. I don't know who that is. She won a graded race in her first year, and they keep asking her questions about who she's training, and then she just gives in and then calls over Super Creek. And I know y'all already know about this horse and the fact that she has crazy stamina, and even the trainer says that Ogre wouldn't even have a chance against her in that category. But the people are doubting her abilities, and Fumino doesn't really care, though her job is to make miracles happen, even if they have the same odds of me achieving my dreams of being a professional athlete at my sport. Fumino was a good enough miracle worker to get her into this next race that I'm about to talk about. We then cut over and we see this fraud do air punches. Bro, you are not Netero. She's getting ready for the same race that Creek is in, and we all know how this is about to go down because Creek walks out to the track and starts talking to herself, and she's like, I can go all out, right, trainer? You are about to get blitzed. The race starts, and you know it's bad when a character starts listing off things in the plot point about the things you need or may not need in this situation. Rope kind of does that, and he's like, all right, this race and what is needed for this race is endurance and keeping focus. And at this point, Muteki, yes, I did figure out how to say her other part of her name, so don't worry about that. She's in a good spot right now. Little does she know, Creek caught up to her. Muteki is scared, and she's just like, you know what, I just gotta go for it. But that doesn't matter because this nice innocent little girl just blew past everybody. Brother, look at her eyes. Where did this demon come from? We then get a flashback of Fumino tell her that her legs are not made of glass anymore. You telling me she about to have a comeback story too? Creek goes on to win the race, and Cap sees that while she was in spectating mode watching the race, and she realizes that she needs to add more to her bag if she wants to win at a high level. Oh God, she's crying. Again, brother, you are not it. Maybe you need to go breed some horses or something, as long as it's not racing. Moving on from her, we see the international horses coming to Japan for the Japan Cup. The reporter from last season is meeting with all of them, and the resumes that they got are pretty insane. And I didn't know we had Angel Reese playing basketball in a horse anime. And I don't care what y'all say to me, she is black. Y'all can't convince me otherwise. And it's also funny because I found out that this horse is from America. So yeah. But one of the favorites, if not the favorite, is Tony Bianca. Tony Bianca, based off of the real life horse, Tony Ben. Now the real life horse's name, it's okay. It's cool, but it's not as good as the actual nickname that it got. Just hear me out. Listen to this one. The Emperor of Europe. That's pretty good. You can probably guess why this horse got that name. And it was because it was really dominant in Europe, and it also won like a really like big race in France as well that I cannot pronounce because it's in French. It was also an influential sire, and it actually had a descendant that I know, and I think most of y'all probably do know, and that is Jungle Pocket. Also, if y'all do know more about the other horses that are participating in this race and the real life counterparts to them, and y'all know more facts and all that stuff about them, please go in the comment section and let me know, because there are just things that I'm just not gonna have time for and just know. So if y'all do, shoot away. We see Cap training, and Rope is watching her train. He has come to the idea that they need information on the other racers, but he's not gonna trust Fuji, the reporter, for the information, because it's just gonna be biased. So Belano has been tasked with gathering information on the other racers. And, she's doing all that. She's getting the information, possibly risking a Spygate allegation, but that doesn't really matter. She has gotten information on everybody else, but she can't find one, and that is Obey, her master. Another crazy name, by the way, but she's just on the floor next to her. She gets up, and Belano just starts asking questions. Obey, she sees through the deception and knows that it's Belano spying and that she's a part of Ogre's team. And she kind of starts listing off not just other things about her, but also about other teams as well. Like, bro, she knows everything about Ogre and her team. She's not only going after her, but she is more on her hit list, and that's Cross and Tony. Obey is pretty weird, not gonna lie, because dog, we see her spinning in this dark room with newspapers up on her wall, and she genuinely actually is like a hit list. Like, I wasn't joking either. Now we get to the Japan Cup, where everyone is feeling the pressure of this race, and at this point I'm thinking Cap needs to do something different, because you have a legacy on the line, and after the last time you raced Tamio Cross, you got cooked. and it hurts your legacy. It put a little bit of a stain on it. So she needs to swing for the fences because, bro, you got too many good racers for you not to try something. Rope then says she is allowed to do something new, but on one condition. The lineup starts getting announced as Cross is about to walk out. Then Obey pops out on some fake friend stuff, and Cross just knows that ain't really her vibe, and she's just not really like that for real, and just knows that she feels weird about her the entire time. We then finally get to see the rematch of Cross and Cap while having a 2017 Warriors level of talent in this race. The races are set and they are ready to go, and the race already begins chaotic with Cap pace chasing, and I would guess that's her doing something different, just like what Cross did the last time they raced. And you know what, she's in a good spot right now. Now I know that isn't gonna last long because Angel Reese wants to start getting all physical and trying to box out Cap, and it's not just Cap, it's also Cross that is getting pushed around and they're getting all physical with her. Now I don't understand, where are the refs? Can we please call a foul on this, please? And after all of that, Cap falls behind, and she's especially tired now because she was pace chasing. So don't do this to me, please, especially after last season, because now if she loses again, how will this actually affect her legacy now? On the other hand, we see Tony talking about Cross's pride, and it starts to turn her up a little bit. She's the first to do so, but then Cross just decides to enter the zone, and then it's not like last time though. Someone has crazy aura, reminds me a little bit of Hisoka's vibe, and it's Obey peeping through like a weirdo, like she has observation hockey. That's not the only thing we're peeping through, because brother, we start to peep through Obey's backstory, and she has like a whole different personality here. Like she has never won a G1 race before, but then she's told about the Japan Cup and that being the stage for her to shine, so she gets obsessed with it, trying to win. She also takes the personality of the person she was talking to earlier and takes what she said about doing research a little bit too much to heart, and so that's why we see her, you know, doing all that weird stuff, you know, creeping out, you know, people, you know, just weird. And y'all know how this medium works. When someone gets a flashback, they all of a sudden get a power up, and so now she's entered the zone, and I'm not gonna lie to you, this is cheating. Why can everyone enter the zone but Cap? Obey's style has completely changed now that she's entered the zone, and Rope says something kind of dumb here. He's kind of like, what? She tricked us? She tricked us all? And like what do you mean by that? Like, of course she was not going to show you her true intent, her strategy, because if she did, you would just counterplay that. So like what do you mean? Like, we even see Tony do that. Like, she's not showing her true potential and what she can actually do on a racetrack because she knows that people are watching her. You would know that. You've been in the racing game for this long and you're surprised? Obey doesn't care about how great these racers are, and Tony's actually shook by the fact that these two have the audacity to do all this on the biggest stage, and it looks like she's going to enter the zone too until her foot snaps. This happens a lot in this series, and dear lord, I feel bad for these horses because bro, in real life, it's cooked. So Tony starts to fall behind, and now Obey and Cross are fighting for first until Obey swerves out of the way. Now you can't make movements like that because it would block your opponent, but it doesn't matter if you have really good distance. It's risky though because you could get banned for it, so I'm sitting there like, why do it in the first place? And her reasoning is actually a good one, and that's because she figured out how Cross is so strong, and that's because of her competitive drive. She has like this ability where she has like a shadow style domain where if you enter, she gets stronger, and that's kind of crazy because it's like, I didn't know we had abilities like that in a horse girl anime. Cross and Obey have a deep bag, but luckily enough, Cat finally decided to lock in, and the condition they talked about earlier was her going back to her bag and using her final spurt. Bro, I didn't expect us to be in a three-way race battle, but like, imagine if Yuta didn't have a domain and got dipped. That's what happens here for Cat, because even though she is strong, there is a difference between people that are in the zone and people that aren't. And man, now that I'm saying this, it does kind of remind me a lot of JJK. Even though the race was really close, Obey ends up shocking the world as the underdog and wins the race. So an American horse just came in and won this race, and the real life counterpart to Obey or Master is Pay the Butler. Obviously the Japan Cup was a really big race, and not just that, the fans really wanted Ogre Cap to win this race because one, it would have just helped their legacy, you know, having the Japan Cup, beating the international horses plus Tamio Cross. But unfortunately it was one of the most heartbreaking losses in her career, because not only that she lost to an American bred horse. So you had a horse that wasn't even from your country come into your country and plant their flag on your home field, your home soil. But that's about it, to be honest. I thought there was a lot more, and maybe there is, and I just can't find it. So yeah, fast forward to the future, and Cap is mentally out of it right now, and it's actually become such a problem, so bad in fact that in prep for her next race, she thinks that she can't win it. So the gang decides to cheer her up, and you know, it helps a little bit. You know, you take her away from being a serial loser, and you know, it kind of cheers her up a little bit. But she knows in the back of her mind that she does need to add something new to her bag if she wants to be the best. On Cross's side of things, we see little Cross with the old man that is on his deathbed currently in the future, and he's dropping her off with her trainer from the future. And so one thing that I gotta say is that, like, where is your mother? Like, what happened to her? Did I miss something? What happened? Like, was she shot in her leg and needed to be put down? Crazy. And I also forgot to say that there was a conversation that Cross and Rudolph had earlier in the episode, and there's like this big reveal, and let me show you what the big reveal is. We see everybody vibing out, eating apples at this party. Rope is talking to Fumino, but the big thing is that Cross wants to talk to Cap. She starts talking about the upcoming race and how if you win, you stand at the peak of racing. They say this about every race. I swear that they said this at the Japan Cup, but that's besides the point. Cap is freaking out at the way Cross is acting because her demeanor is weird. Cross then comes out and says that this is her last race and she's retiring. She's trying to go out as a Gray and cement her legacy. Cap does not care or give a damn about her legacy and starts crashing out on her. But Cap remembers how exactly the same situation happened to her back in season 1 when she was leaving, and March got upset with her for basically the same reasons. And one thing that I noticed in this IP is that they tend to do the, oh, there's rivals, but one of them has to leave or go, and so the other one kind of gets upset, and it just kind of breeds conflict because I guess they just don't really know what to do in a series like this and how to breed conflict when nothing really happens in real life, so they kind of just make something up. Things get so heated that at the end of the conversation, Cross dares Cap to beat her at her last race. And at the press conference where Cross announces her retirement and everybody is shocked and just wondering why in the heck is she retiring, Cap hears none of it. She doesn't even remember what she said. That is how bad that this is affecting her. After the baffling announcement of Cross's retirement, we see Belno talk to Cross's trainer Komiyama, and she asks if Cross is sick, and that's not even the case at all. And Komiyama starts talking about all the things that she does for Cross that best suits her, and so it gives a little bit of advice without giving advice to Belno on what she could do for Cap and what best suits her. And so she gets up and has an idea. Cap is trying to figure out how the zone works, and it's a familiar voice that calls out to Cap, and it's Dicta, and she wants to have fun. I'm also realizing that each time that I say Dicta, it sounds like I'm saying dicta, you know, like you got a dicta, like, my bad, sorry. She's like, hey, it's gonna be light and casual. We cut to them and it's not light and casual. Dicta knows that Cap wants to enter the zone that badly. Then we get a flashback of, I guess, prime Dicta before, you know, she kind of fell off. I don't know, because she's won a lot of races. She was, you know, supposed to be the next ace of the generation. And during one race where she was doubted, she actually ends up entering the zone, and she talks about how it was a new energy and it felt like she had been reborn into a new racer. And even right now as she's racing, she's feeling that same energy, that same vibe, that aura, and then she starts to enter the zone right now. Dicta knows that Cap is so close to entering the zone, and she wants her to join them, and she thinks to herself, like, that is why you are my rival. And then she asks Cap, who do you want to surpass? And as Cap is going through all of her memories and thinking to herself, she comes close to actually entering the zone. And as we're this close to seeing Cap enter the zone, we get blue balled by Dicta, and she just stops the race. Dicta in this situation was probably just trying to be nice and trying to help a friend out, I guess you could say, and fight. I was gonna say fight, racer at full power. See, I saved that. But we're finally at the last big race of the season, and there's a lot on the line in this race with legacies and things that can disprove all the narratives around these racers, and my boy Jimmy wants to talk about it. Well, thank you, Yugen. This is a pretty big race by all means. I mean, you have a rookie in Super Creek who is putting up crazy numbers right now. Then over here, you have Dicta Striker who is trying to reestablish herself in the racing scene. And then obviously the favorite, my favorite, is Tamio Kraus. Man, even though she lost in the Japan Cup, man, oh man, she gave us a show. She proved us why she is the peak of racing in Japan, and understandably so. Everybody is rooting for her to win in her last race. Now, I have my last horse that I have a bit of a problem with everyone trying to put her in these conversations, these GOAT conversations, the Tamio Crosses of the world. Well, that is Ogre Cap, because as of right now, she has proved nothing but that she is a serial loser, a failure, because she has not won a big race at all. And not even just that, she hasn't even won against Tamayo Cross yet. And to put her in those conversations would be so disrespectful to not just Tamayo Cross, but Obey Your Master, because that is who she lost to in the Japan Cup. She lost to somebody that wasn't even born in this country. I don't even care if Tamayo lost to the same person. At least she gave us a show. Cap, she did nothing but watch and whine. And then not only that, she lost a race previously to Tamayo Cross. So for me personally, I need to see more out of her, but I don't really see the legacy defining GOAT conversations that come from Cap. So let's stop putting her in these conversations.
Well, you heard it here, folks. Cap, how will you respond? Because people are calling you a serial loser. People are calling you a failure. People are also saying that Cross owns you. And as of currently right now, that is the narrative surrounding you in your racing career. How will you respond? And it's not just the media that's talking. It's also Cross, where she even says, hey, I will make sure that you have never beaten me, and I will make sure that it will go down in history. And so the racers are getting ready to race, and the race starts. As the races are running, there seems to be a problem with Dicta as she's holding her head. And then we cut over and we see Cross, who is in a good position like always. And then we get a little bit of a flashback to Cap and what her strategy is. And Rope's strategy that she gave her was this. So if you know, you know. The racers are currently approaching a slope that's on the racetrack. Now, do you remember when I said that Bell No Light had something planned for Ogre and that she was going to try to help her out in the best way possible? Well, this is one of them. She actually designed a perfect way that can help Ogre race up this slope without using too much energy. After passing the slope, we see Dicta holding her head, and it looks like she hit her head coming out of the gates. And it looks like she's fine, actually. It looks like she can run, but blood is dripping down her face right now as she's running. So that's a little bit concerning if we're being honest. But that's the least of her worries, because as she's thinking to herself on her strategy and what she can do, lightning hits the ground as if Thor came in. And that is because Tamayo Cross is tired of watching people run slow and just doing this terrible strategy. She just decides to say, you know what, I'm done. Let me turn the switch up real quick. Things just get crazy from here on out, because Cross just has crazy spiritual pressure and starts catching up to Cap. And then out of nowhere, Super Creek just puts on metavision, I guess, and starts moving through the lines. And then next thing you know, Dicta is over here watching everybody just do their thing. And she's just like, you know what, I'm also gonna turn it up. And not in just in a normal way. For some reason, she gets special treatment. She gets the movie treatment. Like genuinely, when she like gets a power up and hits the zone, this moment just reminded me when TM Opera also decided to lock in too. This whole sequence was honestly just a surprise to me, I ain't gonna lie. The name of Dicta's zone is called Shooting Bullet, and it's kind of cool. And she's currently catching up to Cross and Cap, and she agrees with Cross in the fact that the race is pretty boring. So why don't we just keep on turning it up as much as we are? One thing I will hear from me is that this is a crazy upscale for Cap, because the fact that she is still in the lead with Tamayo Cross in the zone, who can activate it whenever she wants, mind you, and then Dicta Striker also in the zone in third place, and then you have Super Creek in the back and forth also putting pressure on her right now. But Cap gets a flashback to when she was a kid and how she could barely walk, and being able to stand up was a miracle. And she thinks onto her Kamamatsu days and how that it taught her how to have fun and all those things. And who really gives a damn? Like, who cares? What? Because right now she is finally understanding the answer as to how to attain the zone, and that is to surpass herself. Cap is finally able to enter the realm of the gods, and Cross sees that and she's kind of shook by it. And then Dicta is also surprised but is happy to see that that is the real her. And so she tries to even go even faster, but out of nowhere she just kind of slows down because her legs just kind of give out on her for some reason. Creek knows that she can't keep up and that these two are in a realm of their own, and these two are neck and neck closing into the final stretch. And then we get a scene where it's just two of them talking to each other and how much of an impact that both of them have had on their lives, and talking about the future races that they'll never get to race. And honestly, this scene was pretty cool. We got to see Cross kind of just pass this torch on to Cap and onto the new era of racing. And it is kind of sad to see that, you know, a character like Cross kind of just go off into the sunset. But we go back and we see both of them neck and neck, and it is as close of a race as it ever has been. And both of them are smiling and having fun. But this race is coming down to the final stretch, and it's going to come down to whoever wants it more. And it so happens to be Cap, and she finally does it. She finally beats Cross in a race for the first time and the last time in her career. And she did it. She beat the narratives. She beat him. She finally proved herself as to why she is one of the best racers of her generation. And, you know, can tell that boy Jimmy to shut the hell up. Wait a minute. I just looked this up, and dear Lord, I did not know this actually actually happen in this race. So in real life, this race was actually the Tenno show. It wasn't the race that they call it here in the show. So I found out after this race, Super Creek got disqualified because she did the illegal move that we had talked about earlier where you can't cut across other racers. So in real life, it gave Soccer Boy third place, and it was actually a pretty close third place. And for all my, crippling gambling addicts out there, this horse was a betting favorite coming into this race. And the reason why it was a betting favorite was because it had set a record that was kind of outstanding at that point in time. So it gave an excuse as to why they're betting their families on this horse. Even though the horse didn't win, it was still able to establish itself during the 80s where there were a ton of elite horses at that point in time. So for Cap, I couldn't remember if this was actually her first G1 race, so I had to look it up. And it was. Like, the real life horse did not win until this specific race. And that's crazy to me because, again, it was against Tamio Cross, who was at the peak of Japan racing at the time, and this was its last race. So for it to actually happen like that is insane to me. So all the emotions are high for multitudes of reasons, and Cross is a little sad, but she's happy that Ogre won, and they congratulate each other. They're happy for each other at the end of the day, because they're rivals. So in the final episode of the season, there's not really much for me to talk about besides the fact that now Cap is at the peak of her powers, and because of that, there are going to be new characters coming in and trying to challenge her throne. And so that's going to be kind of interesting to see if there is going to be a new season of this, because I know there is a manga of this series, and the last scene of the series, or not the series, but of the season, is Tamio Cross finally seeing the dying old man that has been bedridden since season 1, and it has warmed the hearts of probably many of y'all. So that's about it for season 2, and if there is going to be a season 3, y'all know where I'll be, and I'll be here with y'all learning about these horses and these stories. Yeah, because I'm already too deep into this, so I guess I just can't quit. So I'll see y'all when I see y'all.